friend.
Hey, friend.
Keisha Mabry, thank you for stopping by Social Synergy Launchpad this morning.
Of course. First time here, but it's such a beautiful space. So I really appreciate just the welcoming hospitality. And it just feels so warm here, like the sun peeks in. So I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. I have something special in my hot little hand.
You do?
It's your new book, right?
Oh my gosh. It
Yes.
feels like a baby. Like seriously, when people say like it's a birthing process, I don't have kids. I'm not going to compare a book to kids, but it definitely feels like my baby.
Yes. So tell us more about your book, Hey Friend, 100 Ways to Connect with 100 People in 100 Days. Did you actually do this?
I did.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny, just hearing you say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, the title is so long. But it really was something that I did, and I did it multiple times. So how I came up with the whole concept of the book was just thinking about my life and thinking about all the transitions that I went through during my life. So when I graduated, like most young adults, I was trying to like find myself, right? So like you get this degree and you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do with it? So after elementary, you know that you're supposed to go to middle. After middle, you know you're supposed to go to high. And then after high, you know you're supposed to go to college. But after college, you're just like question mark. And so I just started meeting with people. So I called the local Chamber of Commerce and I'm like, hey, you all know all the business people in this town. I'm trying to do something. I really don't know what it is, but I know it's a combination of business and mission. Can you connect me to some people? And so instead of connecting me, they actually invited me to a trip called Glide, where they brought in like 4 emerging leaders and like over 100 like established professionals, or however you want to call them. And I spent the next 3 days just running around that conference, connecting with as many people as I can. And so that was one part of my life, right? And then moving to St. Louis, I didn't know anyone here, didn't have any family. And so I was like, hey, that 100 thing worked back there. Let me try it again. And so I connected with 100 people my first 100 days here. And then after that, I ended up doing my 2-year teaching commitment with Teach for America. Got another job with Dot Foods and did it again because I didn't know anyone at Dot. And so throughout all my life's transitions, connecting with people, and specifically 100, has always helped me through that transition.
So this is a tried and true practice.
Most definitely. So how I actually wrote the book, so you know that I did all of these 100 meetings. I started carrying around with me index cards, and it was because of my mom. You know, when we get older, there's a certain age where we listen to our parents and then we don't anymore, right? We think we know everything, and then we start listening to them slightly again. And so a few years ago, my mom pointed out that I was really good with relationships, and she said, you need to figure out how to turn that into something. And so I just started carrying around index cards, and every time I would meet someone, I would write how I would meet them on the front, and then on the back, I would write a story about it. And so I just, in essence, turned those index cards into the book.
So there's something that we tell our Social Synergy members, you know, sometimes you just have to show up. You do not always have every detail, you know, may not be 100% prepared,
So true.
but just show up and you never know what happens. So it sounds like that is what worked for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend, Sylvester Chisholm, who always says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to be great, right? And so like it's just a matter of like getting started.
Yes. So I'm going to peek open the book and I'm going to look at one of these 100 ways to connect.
And it really is 100.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And so you have designed the book in a unique way too. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have. So I designed the book based on someone's life, right? And so in life, we have these different sections. I'm not trying to put people in a box, but we do, right? So we have things that we just do, and I call that the live section. So things you do just living every day. So whether that's like meal prepping, or whether that's running errands, whether that's exercising, we have that live portion of our life. And then the other portion of our life that we have is a work portion. And sometimes that work portion outweighs the live portion, right? People always talk about work-life balance. Is there really a balance? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you just make choices, but there is that work portion. And then after that, there's the play portion. And so I talk about like how you can make connections just through playing. And then the last 2 sections are focused on like connecting. So being intentional about connecting and then using tech. And when I say using tech, it's not as a way to replace in-person connections, but to more so like stimulate them, so that you can like make the connection on tech and then have that in-person connection off tech.
So I'm looking through one of these tips, and share your who is what's jumping out to me, because that's something that I'm learning to do more of. Sometimes as women, it's difficult to us to cheer ourselves on and to share and celebrate who we are and what we do. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, you touched on it. And so when I say share your who, it's like 3-dimensional. And so if you think about a shape, just like a shape is 3-dimensional or even 2-dimensional, so are people, right? There's so many dimensions of ourselves, but typically we only share one. And typically that one dimension is always revolved around like our profession, right? It's always revolved around like what we do from 9 to 5. And so sometimes I really encourage people to not just show that, but to show the who too. So like, who are you in addition to like what you do? Like, who is your person behind that profession? And so that's what that whole, I don't really have chapters. It really is just the way it's broken out into these 5 sections. But that's what that entire way talks about. It's like really encouraging you. And it's hard for some people, right? Like you have to like be authentic and be vulnerable, and that can be scary. And then like some people don't believe in mixing like business with pleasure, like, you know, all the things and rules and walls that we live by when we become adults. But I really just encourage people to like bring those walls down and show a little bit of your personality that's tied up into that professionalism.
Mm-hmm. So along those same lines, you know, this is really, really exciting. This is the beginning of a new chapter and journey for you as an author. And I'm sure there were some moments of decision for you in having to decide, is this the time to launch? So can you talk a little bit about how you came to terms with making the decision to launch as an entrepreneur and to begin this journey as an author?
Oh my gosh, so there's never a right time, right? Like it's just never a right time. And so like you just have to like make a decision. And so what I did, even before starting to like type out those index cards, I started telling people that I was writing a book. Because then the more I said it, the more it became real for me. And then I had all these people holding me accountable. Some people will tell you not to do that, right? Because that can be stressful for you. If you put a goal out into the world, there's all these people like, so what about that goal? And if you don't accomplish it, it can be so stressful on you. But for me, I have to have that level of accountability. And so if I say I'm gonna do something, not only do I need to tell myself, I need to tell the world. So August, I said, hey, I'm writing a book. And so I told the world, I told myself, and then I started like putting writing time into my schedule. Like we are a calendar world, you know, nowadays. We schedule everything from like naps to like you name it, right? And so like I said, this is gonna be like something serious that I commit to, then I have to commit my time to it. And then on top of that, I said I have to commit my resources too. And so I started making different sacrifices in my life to be able to afford the project. So I self-funded. And so I couldn't continue to like live life and eat out all the time or like shop, unfortunately, because I had to like fund this project, right? And so I made the decision to fold it into my life. And then like every night for 3 straight months, I typed. Like even if I had writer's block, the times that I blocked off on that calendar, I still honored it. And I would sit down and just stare at the computer for the entire 2 to 3 hours. So every day from between 8 and 9 to like 2 and 3 in the morning, I would type.
You have to build it in.
You have to.
You have to make it a practice.
You have to.
Discipline.
Right? Oh, it takes so much discipline. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's moments, you know, when you're just like, I'm over this, because self-publishing is like chartering new territory, right? And so I had never self-published before. I had friends that had done it, but still your journey is your journey. So like the obstacles you face can look way different, even if you're going down the same path as someone else. And so I had so many obstacles, not to get too personal, but my brother was even killed, you know, through all of this stuff. And so like for a while, like knocked me completely off. And so I was like, you know what, like this book is dedicated to him. Like I'm living life, you know, for him, without him here, you know. And so you're gonna have those moments that knock you off, but you just gotta keep going. And you have to learn that we all get tired. The key is to rest, not to quit. And so when those things happened to me, I gave myself permission to rest, but then only gave myself permission to rest for so long. So I would be like, all right, Keisha, you can have this week off. But after that, it's a wrap. Like, you gotta get back into it.
So we usually ask, what advice do you have for new entrepreneurs? But we have all the advice that we need right in this great book.
You do.
So I'm just going to ask you, how do we get it? How do we get a copy?
Yeah, so you can get a copy in multiple ways. So the first way, I have a book release that's coming up. I'm not sure if this is going to air before then or not, but it's on Wednesday, April 12th, so next week at Cafe Ventana from 6 to 8, so that's one option. The next option is on my website, so KeishaMabry.com. You can get the book there. And then, like, some people will just call, text, or email me, and like I'm always out and about, and I keep books on me, and they'll just meet up with me and get a book. So those are the 3 ways now. And then in the future, I'll be on Amazon. I've also started the review process at a few bookstores, so hopefully I'll get in there. And then I'm about to start the process for the audio version.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you. This
Thank
is
you
just
so much.
wonderful. And thank you for following and just following up and creating this book as another tool for us as entrepreneurs. So proud of you. So proud of you.
Thanks.
Thanks
Same
for
to
talking
you.
with us today, Keisha.
Same here. See you later.